This podcast is brought to you by Infinite Resources, a local staffing agency connecting diverse job candidates in central Iowa companies.
Amplified.
Hello, everyone. This is Kenny Lilly from Do the Math 24/7's Math Talk. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. We greatly appreciate it. Today, we have a special guest, Mr. Kaleb Stevens. How you doing?
Good, Kenny. How are you, man?
Good. Thank you for being on the show.
No, super excited to be here. I appreciate it.
Now, before we go into the conversation, which I like to call it, I'm going to first break down my company, Do the Math 24/7.
Yeah.
So Do the Math 24/7 is a company with a positive message on respect, unity, and equality. We have a positive message in which we use the 5 basic math symbols. So for add self-respect, add empathy. For subtract injustice, subtract bullying. For multiply love, multiply understanding. For divide, it's indivisible. Even though we may be divided at times, often, at the end of the day, we're stronger as unified as one versus being divided. Indivisible. Equal stands for equality, equal rights, equal opportunity. 24/7 stands for all the time. So there you go. Do the math 24/7. Now, we have several different ways in which we spread our positive message. We have a character building after school program. We have a apparel line. We have, of course, the podcast. We do public speaking, and we also have action figures.
Okay.
So again, that's kind of the whole empire, so to speak, of Do the Math 24/7. So, but again, Kaleb, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, and I'm definitely gonna need to see one of those action figures for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you my address. We'll see what we can do.
Okay. You do an animation, or you do a graphic arts, or
a little bit, just like folks on my network for sure. But I'm a nerd. I'm a collector at heart. So I always love a cool, original take on something familiar.
Take on something. Okay,
Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay, we may have to connect on
We
that.
might have
Then
to
you
talk
never
about it.
know.
We might have
Okay,
to
that
see.
might be a podcast show.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, thank you for being on the show.
For sure.
We connected probably about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm just kind of give a brief little background. So I met Siri Casso last year. He was part of our fall festival parade.
Cool.
And then he kind of came to our event, and he did some art with the kids.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of connected after that, just kind of stayed in contact and whatnot. And I told him if anything comes up, just kind of let me know what's going on, and maybe we can connect on something. So
For sure.
He told me about his event, which is the MONFest,
Yep.
Middle of Now Here Festival. It's a rural arts festival, really dope concept,
Yep.
really nice concept, which we're going to go into the second half of the show. But we connected, so he asked me to be a part of it. So
Yeah.
of course I'm definitely want to be there. I'll have a table there as well.
Perfect.
But then I wanted to time it to where I can have him come on.
Yeah.
Just to kind of share what he doing, just because he's an artist around throughout Iowa, I would say now.
Yep,
I can't
yep.
even say Des Moines and Ames. He's throughout Iowa.
Yeah.
Up and coming, well-known guy, kind of busy.
Incredibly.
So that's why he decided to, pass the mic to you.
Yeah,
Go ahead
yeah.
and give you that assist, let you come on because you're the event producer of this great festival. So
Yeah.
a lot of impact, but you got a pretty important position with this festival.
Big time, man. Big time. And Siri, like you said, he's always moving at 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
And so as he's continued to grow, he's been able to create spaces for other people to come on alongside the team and kind of help, move forward the work that he's doing. So always grateful to Siri. Siri's one of the humblest, hardest working artists you're going to find out here.
Yes. And, before we get into that, if you kind of look around, look behind Kaleb right here, if you want to portray Kaleb, these are two of Siri
right
Casso's
here,
art paintings, something that the owners of Amplify DSM, Laura and Amner, they bought years ago.
Yeah.
So when I told kind of the background of the show today, she was like, oh my God, look at the artwork right up there.
It's crazy.
And this artwork is actually literally up on the wall.
Every single day. I feel
Every
like
single day, yeah.
That's really indicative of the type of impact that he's had already
Yeah.
because he's touched so many people's lives through the art himself and through his personality that it's a lot of people that know Siri that don't even know that they know about him. He's been everywhere.
He's been everywhere.
He's been everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. So you know what? Let's slide into. Give me the background between you two, because you mentioned
Yeah.
as far as producing and doing
Yeah.
parties.
No, we go way back. So I was born and raised up in Ames, Iowa, about 30 minutes from here. Iowa State University, go Clones. And Siri went to the high school as well. So
Okay.
we went through Ames High together. He graduated 2014. I graduated 2016. So back in school, like Siri was the man. Like Siri was the dude who everybody knew. He was cool with everybody. And he was so deeply involved in the art program that he had murals up in our high school, like back in the day. Like he was already, people knew he was the go-to guy for art, for especially if you needed to paint something. He was the one who you would bring your Air Force Ones to if you wanted to customize them. If you had a t-shirt design you were trying to get out, he was the guy to help you with that. So always just had this huge personality and always kind of channeled that through the art specifically. It's kind of how he connected with people. But when we first met, I was through football, actually. So like he was up on varsity in my sophomore year. They pulled me up to practice with the varsity guys during like playoff season because they needed people who could just get beat up pretty much. They didn't want to hurt their own guys. Right. So I was up there going against, like doing drills against him and his other guys and just getting beat up. But he was always super cool about it, obviously. And then I was actually a writer on the school paper. And so I actually did I did an in-depth like report on Siri. His senior year, he won prom king that year. And so I just kind of did like a humorous introduction to Siri. And from there, like, we actually we stayed cool from there, but we weren't like seeing each other all the time and stuff like that. Fast forward to 2019, and he did his first art show out at Marshalltown Community College. Okay. It was called Dream Diaries. And so he had just had his art up on the walls, and he brought me and someone else from the community, Emmett Phillips, out to perform music during the performance. And he had it all, had that place packed out. You know, I don't think Marshalltown had ever seen something quite like that. And from there, we started producing regular shows up in Ames at this place called Reliable Street. And we did like paint and sips. We do open mics, and we just kind of started trying to bring opportunities for folks who wanted to express themselves creatively to come together and have a place to do that. Because in smaller towns like Ames and Marshalltown, like those spaces really don't exist for the most part. You really have to kind of get it on your own. And Siri's always been someone who's trying to get it on his own and kind of get it off the muscle like that. So we worked together for several years. The pandemic kind of threw a wrench in our plans. And I went back to school in 2020, back up to Iowa State. And so he kind of kept doing his thing with the art. I was kind of more focused on school. And then I ended up going out to the East Coast, New York City in 2023, while he was still here doing his thing, and then was out there for a couple of years working, and then just came back here in March. And so now that we're, back locked in, we're right. It's like we never left. Like we're just getting right back into working on projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your time in New York. You know, because you've kind of done some things out there as far as production and whatnot. You kind of want to just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So when I had gone back to school in 2020, I was studying community and regional planning because I wanted to understand the built environment and especially to understand kind of how creativity could be used to activate our communities and how to make them better. So to fast forward or go back a little bit, I graduated high school 2016, went to Iowa State for my first semester, but really didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't have a vision, and I was super scared of going into debt. So dropped out after my first semester, and I started producing shows down here at Lefty's and doing small things up in Ames. So I was really started getting my feet wet with art, and I was my own recording artist too. So I was just in the bedroom recording songs all the time. Once again, fast forward to 2019, I'm doing some events with Siri. Pandemic kind of slows things down. I was serving tables at Jethro's Barbecue up in Ames. They got shut down from the pandemic. I started getting that unemployment check from COVID, which was the biggest check I'd ever had. The consistent check was way more than what I was making as a server. And I was like, let me invest this back in myself. So I went back to school in 2020 in community and regional planning. And went through the program, and I started applying for internships going into my last semester. I got a summer program working with United Masters, which is Steve Stout's company out in Brooklyn. Okay. So literally just a random.
That's a heavy hitter.
Yeah, no, it was like I skipped a couple steps because it was just a random LinkedIn application. Like I didn't know anybody. I had done some work working with a company called Group Creatives that's based here in Des Moines, working on public art projects and kind of helping to be like the go-between for muralists and communities who are trying to put murals in or different kinds of art projects. So I was able to build up my resume. But yeah, I hit the application. I had a great interview with Matt Raz. Shout out Matt Raz. He's like a godfather in the podcast world.
Okay.
So I was working on podcasts when I first got out there. But I did the summer of 2022. I was out there interning. I was selected to extend my internship while I finished my last semester of school. So the rest of 2022, I was living here in Ames, finishing the class, but I was flying back to New York to like do events from like every 2 months. We're working on like producing events.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then once I graduated that winter, I came on full time and I moved out there, and it wasn't until May of 2023. So I was out there in Brooklyn in Bed-Stuy from 2023 until I just moved back in March. So it was like eye-opening experience to just culture as a whole, and living in like a global city like New York,
right?
But also having that firsthand experience of like, I'm working at like Steve Stout's company, and like we're producing events for artists like Pusha T and Jadakiss is coming out and 50 Cent, and so it's like I'm now producing events for these people who I've only seen on TV before. So it was really cool for me to see that like the barrier to entry isn't real. It's really just a matter of sticking to your guns, knowing what you can provide, and being in the right place at the right time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It was a great experience for sure.
Yeah, and all the thing you did was apply.
Just applied. That's
Come
it.
on.
That's all I had to do. I didn't know nobody. I didn't have no secret sauce. And it was on LinkedIn. It wasn't like I just saw an internship program and just went for it.
Yeah. So you actually worked, like interacted with Steve Stout, obviously? Or?
I mean, not like direct. Like I probably had like 3 meetings with him total. But like I was on the teams that reported to him.
Gotcha.
And because like United Masters is kind of it's an important project to him, and the artists that are on there are people that he has close relationships with. So we were really trying to make sure that we were getting his vision right when it came to like the type of events that we were producing. So he was always like at least the ghost in the machine. We were trying to think like, is Steve gonna like this?
Right.
But it wasn't like day to day. I wasn't like reporting to Steve directly or anything like that.
So how has that experience? Well, first of all, your experience from growing up in Ames, and the culture there, and then going out to New York, experiencing that, finishing school. How has both of those cultures, so to speak, just kind of help, further what you're doing out here, what you're trying to do?
Man, it's been crazy, because what we're trying to do, especially with the festival with Now Here, is bring together these different cultures in places that they may not typically exist historically. And I feel like that's a big part of my story in general. So I was born in Ames. My mom's, she's white. She's from here originally, from a small town in eastern Iowa called Oxford Junction. She went to school. I think she had 18 people in her graduating class.
Okay. So that's huge.
You know what I'm saying? And then my dad's from the West Coast. So he's from Riverside, California.
Riverside, okay.
Yep. San Bernardino, stand up.
San P. I used to live in San P.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So his dad was a surgeon, actually from just outside of Philly. So he grew up, born in the 1930s, black man, became a surgeon, went against all odds, went to Howard University, moved his family to the West Coast and had a life out there. My dad came to Iowa for Iowa State University. He was studying psychology and getting his master's and going for his PhD. That's where my parents met. And so they decided to settle in Iowa. So I was born in Ames, but we lived for the first 6 years of my life outside of this small town called Story City. That's, I don't know, less than 10,000 people for sure. So and we were out on a farm. So I was like, we had sheep out in the pasture, and we had chickens out in the pasture. So I was like a country boy. And then we moved to Ames when I was 6. And Ames is a small town, obviously. It's a college town. The population is maybe 60,000, but literally 30,000 of those are undergraduate students. So in the summer, it's like 30,000 people. But the street I lived on had a bunch of kids who had moved here from Sudan, and kids who had moved here from Chicago, and just a bunch of black kids. Like, of all of Ames, like I lived on the most diverse block. Like literally, it was one.
Was on that block.
It was one block. It was literally one block. Yeah. And if I had been anywhere else, I don't know what my experience would have been like. But growing up there, like, really opened me up to a lot of different experiences that, a lot of people in small town Iowa just don't get. And so I really credit, the kids I grew up with and the families I grew up around with just helping me to have a more well-rounded, vision of things. But I was actually homeschooled until 8th grade. Okay. So that was also a unique thing where we had that was another way we kind of had an alternative, non-standard approach to life and to the world. And so all that stuff, I think, although I was I was in Ames, and I was in Iowa, like I had a very just non-traditional approach to that space. I think that really made me open to more experiences outside of that bubble that some people can kind of be stuck in. So once it was time to, find out what I wanted to do, I always knew I wanted to leave at some point and just experience more of the world. So, once I finally had the degree and I finally had, people were looking at my resume and actually responding to me, it was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to go and, take this opportunity. So since then, man, it's really just helped to show me like how big the world is and how little I actually know about it, and really inspired me to just keep trying to connect places and people that, may not typically be connected. And once again, like that's really what we're trying to do with Middle of Now here, is bring people who maybe they don't have experience in a rural setting, maybe they don't have a background, they don't have any family ties there, but really just create space for them to come out and enjoy themselves and authentically show up as themselves.
As themselves. Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be good.
These are a few questions that I kind of formed just based off of your bio. So we're gonna just go over a few of them.
For sure.
As an experimental producer, what does activating spaces mean to you?
Yeah, man, it's definitely, I know it's kind of like a grab bag term, like it could be whatever, but I really view it as world building. So I'm really trying to create a world that people are able to enter and experience and hopefully bring themselves and contribute to the world themselves, like we do in the real world. But it just comes up with like trying to think of like, what does this world smell like? What does it sound like? What type of activities are happening in it? What type of food is in it? And it's really like I think we really it's nice to limit it to a physical space because that gives you some boundaries to work within. It's like, well, this is the space I have, this is the square footage I have to be creative to fit all these things inside of it. But activating space really just means creating a place that people can come in and be themselves and contribute to and take something from as well. Like we can walk down a street and we're in space, but if we don't have those things that kind of let us know that we're welcome, or give us something to think about, or give us something to reflect ourselves off of, then it might not feel like home, and it might not feel like a place that we can really, exist in for real. So I think being an experiential producer is really about, whatever company you're working with, whatever vision you're working with, is just creating a world, whether that's temporary or long term, that people can come and benefit from.
And, it's also just kind of piggyback on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also like for you to, first of all, to go to the rural area, you got to put yourself in that situation.
Big time, yeah.
Think like how they think, and, and just to kind of be in that element. Appreciate that element. Right? And that was a great thing that you grew up on, just being in that element, so and then of course bringing the urban arts and whatnot, and the metropolitan, the big city vibe, so to speak, to that space. But you can't just bring it there without respecting what's already there.
Big time. No, that's an important part.
Right? Just not coming in and just, hey, we're going to do it out here. It's like, no, let me embed myself in this culture. Let me understand the culture. Let me respect the culture. Let me respect the rural area, the rural culture. And appreciate that. And then you can bring something else in.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the basis of any type of collaboration, or if you come into any type of new place, rule number one is always respect who's already here.
Humble.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So why do you think poetry and music connect with people on such a deep level?
Man, so I've always been a poet. Like I literally wrote my first song, and like a songwriter too. I remember the first song I wrote was, I didn't even know how to write yet. I dictated it to my mom, and she wrote it down for me because I was like, I wanted to say this, and this. But what I know is a good song or a good poem is something that just makes me feel something that I was already familiar with but didn't have the words for. So I think poetry specifically gives us the words for experiences that we don't really know how to express.
Right.
And I think that music takes that a step further, and it gives us a feeling that we know internally, but we might not experience it in the world around us. Because, music doesn't have to have lyrics, obviously. Right. That's not the basis of it. But it does have vibrations, and it connects with the vibrations that we hold internally. So I know that something speaks to me and is profound when it's like it's an echo of something that I can feel inside myself, but I don't know how to put that outside of myself. I don't know how to get it out, but the right song or the right poem will bring it out. And that's how you start getting goosebumps, or you start crying because your body's like, oh my God, like I'm experiencing this thing that I knew, but I didn't know how to put it from my subconscious into my conscious.
Right.
And so I think poetry and music is really just a translation of what we experience internally, being able to put that out in the world around us.
Because that helps with being able to connect with expression.
Exactly.
And like you said, allowing the arts to bring things out of you.
Yeah.
That maybe just by you reading it, it couldn't get out of you, but just by it being in a form of art or lyrics or poetry, then it's like, wow, okay, this is something that this speaks to me.
Now I feel it. Now my heart is syncopating with that rhythm.
Right,
you know?
Right. So has there been a song that maybe you've gone through something, or something that really resonated with you, that helped you get through something?
Man, big time. So it's actually, I'm gonna give you a whole album. So there's this singer named Emily Sandé. She's UK based. She's like a soul singer, R&B singer.
Okay. Emily Sandé.
Yep. I'll show you afterwards. But she has this album called Long Live the Angels, dropped in 2016. And when I had gone back to school in 2020, in 2021, I felt really isolated. It was the pandemic. I was kind of going through things with my family, or we just weren't in contact the way we had used to be. I was kind of separating myself from some of the people maybe I was hanging out with before, because I was trying to go on this new path, and I just felt super isolated and kind of grieving some of those past versions of myself. And this album, man, I listened to it every single day for like 3 straight months at least, where it, like, the way that she was experiencing her heartbreak and her grief, it felt like she knew the world that I was in, even though, you know, she's from the UK, she was doing her own thing. But that album single-handedly, like, that was my go-to that really got me through this extremely isolated point in my life where, like, I knew things were going in the right direction. You know, I'm back in school, I have this vision for myself, I'm trying to put my life together in a way that makes sense to me and it's organic. But the way that album really spoke to me is why she's always going to be one of my favorite artists, because it's like she was there with me and we were kind of going through things together, and just experiencing the way that she put her heartbreak out into the world made it easier for me to go through, I think, what was really a grieving process of like letting go of some old things and moving on to new ones.
You know, that's awesome you mentioned that. You know, I just think in general, when we express ourselves through art, we don't know who we're healing
at all
or connecting with.
Yeah.
Right, regardless of demographics, like you said, UK, it didn't matter.
Yeah, it's universal.
It's universal.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I'm going to ask you a question that's kind of geared towards youth, because I work with youth.
Yeah.
Why is it important for youth to connect with this expression of art? Yeah,
I think one of the biggest reasons is because, like, we all need to know ourselves, and the sooner you can get to know yourself in an authentic, like who you really are, the better life you can have. Like, the way you can't go after your goals if you don't know who you are and what kind of goals you have. And I think that expression of self, like unashamed, unabashed, like you're not worried about being awkward or what people would think of you. If you can get to that point where you can just kind of purely say how you feel and put it out there, one, you can look at it and you can kind of destigmatize some of the things that you tell yourself, because society tells us so many negative things. Right. When you can see yourself on a page, or you can hear yourself in a song, and you can kind of, it almost is a way to build empathy for yourself. It's like, oh wow, like there's more to me than I thought there was. But I think that I think we're all on a journey back to ourselves. I think that as kids, you actually have an advantage because you don't know anything but yourself. You know, you haven't had as much time for society to program you with whatever it wants you to believe. And so I think it's important, especially for kids, to be able to express themselves, because if you can just stay on that path of being yourself and not trying to fit into whatever boxes or molds society or the people around you want to put you in, you can just have, like, you can live you can find happiness a lot earlier.
Right. A lot earlier.
You know, a lot of us, we go through these things where, like, you have to learn a lot of stuff, and you have to kind of change and fit these different boxes just to survive. It's survival tactics. But that's not the ideal situation. The ideal situation is we're all allowed to be who we are, regardless of who that is, as long as we're not hurting nobody. and we just all kind of frolic in the meadows and like eat good food and listen to good music and have community. Like that's what life's all about. It's not complicated. And so whenever you give a kid the power to express themselves, you're giving them the power to tap into themselves and the energy, the power that they have within themselves. And, you know, the confidence that builds in who they are can, you know, create a beautiful life for them from there on out.
So how do you, and this question just came up in my mind, but how do you think about when it can be kids or, you know, adults, when they have an idea to do something as far as to be creative, to express themselves? It can be a song, write a book, whatnot. Yeah. And then the fear pops in, right? The doubt and whatnot. Yeah. And then there are times where they just don't do it because of the fear and the doubt. Yeah. So what do you think about having the mindset of knowing that you may have fear by doing this, but on the flip side, what you're doing can be helping out thousands. Yeah. Yeah. Thousands, tens of thousands, millions possibly.
Yeah, you have no idea.
So it's not necessarily always about you. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, take yourself out the equation.
If you feel like your higher power or higher being giving you a thought to do something, there's a reason why.
Big time.
And that can help multitudes of people. So it's not always about like it's about us or our emotions no, there's a bigger purpose. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Man, I totally agree with that. And I think that a lot of what we feel and what we experience as people is passed on to us even from the ancestors. Like, you know, what we experienced in our life physically, it chemically changes our DNA. It chemically changes what we pass on to our children. And so if you are that child, you actually are experiencing things that your ancestors experienced. You just don't know it. And it's happening inside of you. And when you allow that to open up and to come out, you're able to connect with people back in time. And then, like you said, you're able to connect with people here today who maybe they don't have the circumstances where they're free enough to express themselves like you. Maybe they haven't had the support to be able to be to this point of doing it. And so although it can be, that's the scariest thing to do, is to be yourself. Mm-hmm. So there's like no bigger fear than expressing yourself authentically, organically. But if you can do that, like the feedback is always so much better than what you expected. Like for me, obviously my medium has been poetry and songwriting. Like I make hip hop songs. So like I've made some songs where I'm just like, like I don't really like this that much. But maybe my cousin or my homie heard it and he's like, yo, bro, like that really spoke to me. Like what you said, like I know, like I feel like I've experienced some of those things, and that alone makes it worth it. Like if you're less worried about what people think of you and you're more worried about being true, and as long as you're being honest with your music, you have to let it go, even if it's weird, even if people are gonna laugh at you about it, or if you're a painter, if you're a sculptor, whatever you are, like whatever it is, you just have to be yourself, because like it's gonna connect with the people around you in ways you don't even know, and it's gonna bring you closer to them than you could even imagine.
So kind of switching the subject a little bit, as far as producing, that you've done in the past and going forward, why is it important to elevate Midwest artists?
Yeah, I like
or to put them on a platform. Why is that important to you?
I like that question. I mean, I think artists, no matter where they're from, need to be lifted on a platform and on a pedestal. I think that it's just here in the Midwest, especially in smaller towns, even Des Moines. Like Des Moines is the biggest city in Iowa, but it's a small town, like nationally. You know what I'm saying? It's not a big spot, but there's people here with something to say. Period. Full stop. You know, it don't matter. Nothing else matters. If there's ever people, there's people who have something to say, and people who need to be heard, because we can't go through life in a vacuum. We can't go through life feeling like we're the only ones who understand what we're going through. And for the Midwest, I think it's especially important for us right now as artists to like put our work out there and be who we are, because other kids out here in the Midwest need to know it. Like for me growing up, I didn't really see the arts as a super viable, I didn't see it as a super viable path. I knew I could find a way in it, but I didn't see many other people who look like me, who were successful, who were living their life off of their art. So for me, it always felt like it was gonna have to be like on the back burner or something. But if I had me growing up, if I could look at someone like myself or someone more successful than me and be like, yo, they did it. They're from the same place I'm from. They're from the same nowhere town where nowhere knows me for real, no one's ever heard of, but they took everything they went through and they turned it into something. And that can give you such a sense of meaning and of value. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, I mean something. Because like when we listen to these hip hop songs and we got people in New York City claiming New York City, we got people in LA claiming the West Coast and really riding for that. Even if you don't make art or music, like now you have people who are championing you in your area and what you've been through. People in Chicago, they artists, there's such a strong artistic legacy there that you can be proud to be there because of some of the other people that have been there. So I think for some of us who are from a smaller market, who maybe people haven't heard of as much, like it's more important for us to speak up and make noise because we're here too and our stories matter. Just because you're not from a place that's in the movies doesn't mean you don't matter. You don't
matter, right?
We all matter, and so I think that's why it's important for us as artists here to just speak up because we matter, and the kids need to know that, and ourselves need to know that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the MONFest.
Let's get into it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So give me a snapshot, like a breakdown of the MONFest.
Yeah. So Middle of Now Here Festival. It's at the Cellar Winery just outside of Madrid on July 12th. It's going to be like a 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. type of thing all day. And it's really just a chance for artists and those who love art to come out to a rural setting, experience the beauty of the Iowa landscape, because I think that's one of the biggest things that Iowa has going for it is just the landscape. Just being out here in nature in ways that you can't be in other places, and activating that with art. So bringing people to that landscape. One of the things about the landscape out here is that it's typically kind of empty, but now we're trying to bring all the people and all that art here in one place. So we have 80 art vendors, people who are selling everything from clothes to paintings to jewelry to you name it. We have 6 dope performers, some of them based here in Central Iowa, like C. Desiak and Rudy Wild and Terry Rosani, and then we have artists coming from South Dakota, artists coming from Nebraska. So we really kind of have a smattering of talent here as well. So it's just a chance for people to engage in the true Iowa countryside, but to do so with the artists that kind of bring that to life, and especially with artists and with people who are not white, people who are Latino, people who are Asian, people who are Black. Historically, we're not welcome in those rural places. Yeah. There's a reason why we don't go there. It's for self-preservation. So we're really trying to say no. That's why Siriaka went with the name of Now Here, because now we're here.
We here.
However we got here, we're here. We're here, and so we're not going to shrink down. We're going to take up space. We're going to show you that we have agency. We have cultures that are vibrant, that matter, and we're going to celebrate that despite the climate that we live in, despite what your beliefs are. We're going to celebrate and have a good time, because that's what resistance has always looked like for us, is just celebration and life in the face of impending doom. It's you can't disconnect from what's happening at the larger level, at the national level, international level, but in the midst of that, we can still live our lives. And so Middle of Nowhere Now Here is really a chance for us to just celebrate life itself, celebrate creativity and the creators that help to bring our Midwest world to life.
No, that's great. As far as breaking that down, and also the fact that you're bringing urban city communities to the rural area.
Yeah.
So you're bringing them out there to where now they're being exposed. If they have not been, as far as what's going on, they may start to explore a little bit more. Hey, I might start going to this wine cellar more.
Yeah.
Different things like that, or go to this local barbecue joint down the street or whatnot. So, that's awesome for the town, and it's something that the town could look for. It's once a year.
Yeah.
They know it's going down once a year.
Exactly.
And why not bring that energy?
That's what I'm saying. What's stopping us? Nothing.
Yeah.
And we found a great partner with John at the Cellar Winery. He's for everything that we're doing. He supported us from the start. And it's a beautiful space. They got the grapes growing in the background, and a beautiful stage area and a bunch of grass. So just a chance to kind of disconnect from everything that happens in more condensed areas. And because so many of the artists are coming from Des Moines and from other a little more built up areas, a lot of their supporters and folks will be coming from the city. So yeah, really just, and like you said, once you have that introduction to a place, you kind of feel like it's more for you. You feel like it's a place that you can actually come into and experience. And
Yeah,
I think I messed up her name, Terry Underhill, not Rosalani. Her Instagram is King Rosalani, so I've been thinking that, but Terry Underhill is one of the artists who's coming as well.
Okay. And, and also, sometimes killing those stereotypes that we may have.
Big time.
As far as the rural area and whatnot, and thinking that, 100% we're not accepted, because that's not true.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like it is definitely, it's a lot of fear on all sides, It's a lot of fear because a lot of crazy things have happened and do happen, but that doesn't mean it's everybody. And there are those folks who, really believe in a world that we are all able to share and show up fully as ourselves in. Mm-hmm. And so like John is an example of that at Cellar Winery, and our partners. So the way this is going to work out is folks will actually drive and park in this city called Slater, which is right next to Slater and Madge are like 2 miles, 3 miles apart. So they'll drive into Slater and then they'll be shuttled out to the winery. So they'll park there and be shuttled out. So it's a chance for folks to, like you said, kind of experience Slater, which is a tiny little town. Okay. Tiny little town, just to the south of Ames. And there's going to be like some music there and like some bars there as well. So while you're waiting for the shuttle, get a drink, listen to some music.
And that was intentional?
It was. And that's something they didn't do last year. So this is the second year of the festival, so it's really still in its infancy. Mm-hmm. But Siricasso and his partner Drew Free, who's come back and helped to keep it moving this year, they founded it last year, and it was a smaller scope. They didn't have all the shuttles and stuff, but this year, like, they're really taking the opportunity to grow it, and because the goal is just increasing the capacity so that more people can come out, more people can experience it, and we can really have good memories in places that you maybe didn't expect it.
Yeah, money's coming to those bars and those restaurants too.
And that's the thing. Come on. And when we talk about the economics, like, especially for small towns and out here in Iowa, like, tourism is it's like make it or break it, honestly. Make it or break it. Like, if you're on that bike trail and you can attract people to come in and stop by and get a drink, it can really change the economic future of your city. Yeah. Because, we all have so many options about where we go, how we spend our time, that if you can successfully attract people to come in, it can create jobs, it can create new homes, it can change, the future of your town, your city. And art, creativity is the easiest, kind of most surefire way to bring people in. Yeah. It's just, we like to be around beautiful things. We like to hear good things. We like to experience good things. So when you're able to activate space using creativity and using art, it has very real economic payoff. Right. Like there's studies about it. Yeah. This is things I looked in when I was studying community and regional planning. We talked about, placemaking and how you can, how everyone is really out here just competing for these same limited number of tourism dollars, and like murals and festivals are a big way that kind of swing the balance in your area's favor.
Okay. And again, that's something that the community can look forward to in Slater and Madrid.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really so Boone County, Story County, Polk County, anything. It's like a 35 at most minute. It's like a 30-minute drive from Des Moines. So it's kind of like trying to go to the suburbs. Yeah. Like if you're going way out deep into like Adele or past Waukee a little bit, like, it's kind of a synonymous drive. It's not like it's so far out there that people are like, I can't make it. Like, it's just up the street. You just got to broaden your world a little bit.
Man, when I lived in Orange County and worked in San Bernardino, I was driving one way 55 miles.
See what I'm saying? Like,
Orange County to San B.
I know.
And then one way.
It's crazy.
And you just do it.
And in California, I know people that's used to that. Out here, it's like, I feel here in the Midwest, everyone just wants to like go down the street and that's it, and then come back. But it's like,
you can do it.
You can do it. You can do it. If you got a car, you got a homie that has a car, you can figure it out. You can make it happen. You could Uber, honestly. You could do an Uber, it wouldn't even break you. Real.
Right, especially all the fun you're gonna have anyway.
That's what I'm saying. You gotta invest in yourself a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, in what ways have the festival helped elevate rural arts and cultural identity? You kind of already touched on that.
Yeah,
but if you want to.
For sure. I think it's a lot of people, you just don't think of these rural areas as being arts incubators. You don't think of them being places that you can go to enjoy a nice show or to, find cool murals that you just stumble upon. But those things do exist in these places as well, and they're starting to increase more and more. I think more small towns are realizing that no matter what size they are, they still need to be kind of providing these amenities for the people that live there and the people who want to visit.
Right.
And so we're kind of helping to shine a spotlight also on those artists and those creators who are living that rural life, because that's a whole different struggle. When you're in a town of 5,000 people and you're trying to find a way to, you know, put your dreams into reality and into motion. And even, you know, Siri, he lives in Huxley right now, which is also less than 10,000 people. Like, you know, he lives in one of these rural places as well. And the need for arts is the same there as it is anywhere else. It's just that, like, it doesn't have the same focus. And so for those artists who are based there, some of whom, you know, we have a lot of artists who are from small towns coming out to vend with us and to perform with us as well. We really hope that this is like something that increases their hope, something that gives them, you know, shows them there's opportunities for them to be successful where they are and not feel like, oh, I got to go to Chicago, oh, I got to move to New York City,
That's right.
or else I'm never going to make it.
Yeah, no, that's true. And they do lack resources, more in rural areas versus into urban areas.
Big
That's
time.
just
They don't got the same grant programs.
They really don't.
Yeah.
You know? So you're giving them an opportunity and putting them on the map. You know,
Definitely.
You're putting them on that platform.
Yeah.
And hopefully some artists in rural areas will begin to do art out here.
Exactly.
Come on, you don't have to come to Des Moines, come to Waukee, Urbandale, and
we'll come to you. Like,
right.
Give us something to
just kind of go. Yeah.
Show us what you're about, and let us come to you. You know.
Yeah.
And Siri, he's been so good at that. He's got shows in Marshalltown. He's done shows up in Mason City in Iowa. He's done shows in small towns up in Minnesota. And so, coming from rural places like we do, we really have that passion for elevating those artists as well.
Okay. How has you think the local community responded to the festival?
That's a good question. I think so
and
far.
I know it's only, year two, but as far as...
Yeah. So I know that, like, in their first year, they were able to get good, you know, we got good coverage from, like, KCCI and some local news outlets, so that was super dope. And this year, I think kind of having the heightened status helped to open some more doors. So, like, you know, we've been in talks with the mayor of Slater for, like, agreeing to hold parking there in Slater and have those little, have the shuttle going back and forth and things like that. So, so far the community's been welcoming us. You know, I think we're really trying to see if they are going to fully, you know, lock in with us and like promote us and really see the value that we're bringing. I know it's still early. You know, anytime in a relationship, like it's no one's gonna, you know, feel fully comfortable right away. But so far, it's been really positive for us. Yeah. Like we have people who seem genuinely excited about what we're trying to bring. People who genuinely already maybe they go to the Cellar Winery as regulars, and now they're excited to see something new they can go and check out there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, overall, it's been positive for us.
Yeah, yeah. And you never know. It could be something that you guys can even do something like a fall thing or something, or a fall fest, or you know.
You're reading our mind.
Yeah,
you're reading our mind,
you know.
Because we would love to be able to make this more frequent, and we'd also love to, you know, Madrid, Slater. It's not the only rural place that needs this. It's a lot, and it's an untapped market if you think about it.
Market.
It's a lot of small places. Hopefully this podcast doesn't go too crazy.
Right.
Someone else take it. But it's really like we really are passionate about, you know, creating these spaces, not just here but in other places as well. So we would love to be able to, you know, take it on the road and do maybe not the exact same thing, but similar types of productions in other small places, just to bring that attention onto them, because these smaller towns have just as much a right, you know, to have the spotlight as bigger places do. Right.
It can even be some. I'm just thinking offhand, and little thing like a back to school bash out there, and just have a little art thing, you know. Just
I like that.
Because there's back to school bashes everywhere around here.
Well,
what
so
about out there?
Why not? And that's one of the
provide backpacks and funding and have it. Companies come in and provide that stuff.
Big time. You know, we can have artists that we could even feature kids who are artists. Come out here and sell some of your work, or even not sell it if you just want to display it. Like, let people know what you're doing.
Right.
And I think that, and I love how you say that, like, they're doing it in other places. You don't really have to rewrite the wheel or remake the wheel. You know, you can take things that are working in other places, and just by putting them into a new location, now it's a brand new thing. It's something that hasn't been done before.
Right.
Now you're an innovator. You know, like I think what they say, like genius, or you know, like if you're really trying to create beautiful things or products, like it's like 80% based on what's already worked. And then you change that 20%, and boom, that's where the magic is. So
right.
it's
Don't
like,
try too hard. It's already there.
We're not trying to do nothing that, you know, hasn't worked in other places. We're just trying to do it somewhere that maybe hasn't seen it before.
Haven't seen it, right? I think it's brilliant,
man.
Yeah,
I think so too. Once you know, once I saw what Siri and Drew were doing last year, and then you know he invited me to be part of it this year, I was like, yes, like this is the hot thing, right? This is what's happening, especially here in Iowa when it comes to festivals. You know, we lost 8035, rest in peace. It was really one of the biggest, especially in Central Iowa, that was the biggest, you know, source of music and just cultural festivals. And we have Hinterland is the big one. I saw Tyler the Creator coming this year. Right. But once you get past that, you know, it kind of gets harder to really pick out. There's a lot of cultural like festivals for Latino folks and for Asian folks and across the board. But as far as like a music festival,
music fest, or
you know,
with art
as well, that's a smaller it's a smaller list. So. We definitely see it as, you know, something that's needed here, and that's needed in a lot of places as well. So it really helps us to see the impact as we're going through, you know, the hustle that it requires to put something like this on.
Because even normally music fest, they don't have art.
Yeah, I would say.
I mean, maybe here and there, but normally it's a music fest.
Exactly.
And that's it.
And that's the focus. And like, you're at Coachella, they might have like a bunch of different areas where they have like sculptures up, and there's stuff you can buy for sure, but the music is definitely more of the focus. So because Siri's a painter and Drew is a painter as well, they've always had insights into like the visual artists and being able to bring them out to come set up tables and do their thing. And so we're still very heavily like on the art side. Like we have 80 vendors, you know, and we have a smaller music lineup. But the future goal is for those to kind of balance out more. So maybe it's like a longer music lineup, and maybe it's just bringing in more people from different places. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to find that balance, you know, between art that you can look at or art that you can purchase and bring home with you, and art that just exists in the space, and you have to be here to witness it and to be part of it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited,
man. Yeah. And for music, like we have DJ O'Shea out of Kansas City opening us up, keeping the energy good the whole time. Reese, like I said, from Lincoln, Nebraska. Taylon Basil from South Dakota. And then our local folks, Terry and Rudy and C. Deziak. So all hosted by EP, who's very familiar here in Des Moines. So no, like I've been in charge of the music specifically. Mm-hmm. I'm very passionate about, you know, putting on a good show for everybody. So it's definitely going to be something you don't want to miss.
Yeah. So what is something you think Siri Kossel would want you to share with the audience?
Man, definitely, you know, for Siri, you'll have to get him on the show too, because like his story is crazy. Like he really has used art to create the world he wants to live in. And I've seen him do that through multiple stages, through multiple levels of, you know, being a kid and being an adult and being a father and being a husband. And like I've seen this passion for creating be a consistent that's helped him to change his life for the better. Yeah. I think he would definitely just want people to know that like you can create the world you want to live in. Like it's not a cliche, it's not impossible at all. If you have a vision for something and you are committed to that vision, it will happen. It's not a question of can it happen. It's a question it will happen. Right. It's just a question of when and can you weather the storms that'll happen in the meantime. But you know, build your own world. Like, you don't gotta live in someone else's. I think that's what he would definitely say, because he's doing that now. Like he's a father. He's got 3 kids, and he's fully supporting his family off the art that he creates. Yeah. This is his full-time job. He don't got nothing on the side. Right. He's just hustling to keep creating this world and keep getting it to more people. And if he can do it. And once you hear more of his story, you know, your jaw will drop. But if he can do it, you know, anyone listening to this can do it too. Yeah.
You know, that's one thing I want to just kind of briefly mention. When I was talking to him about coming on the show, he immediately thought of you.
Man, it's my brother. Immediately. That's my brother.
Just, my guy talked to Kaleb. I'm gonna give you some info through Instagram, and he made it happen. You know?
Yeah, no.
He was just so quick to mention you, you know. Yeah. And that, you know, that was a lot of respect. You know, I'm like, oh wow. It's like, hey, I got somebody. Yeah, he can cover.
See,
good.
He grew up hooping a lot, and his position, man, he's distributing the ball. He's passing. He don't need to make the shot. He just needs his team to win. So like ever since he and I've been locked in, he's always looking out for me. He's always looking out for Drew and anyone else who's on the team, and trying to pass opportunities around. That's just the kind of guy that he is, and so. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all because that's just the love that he shows for his community.
Yeah. So one of the last questions, what is something that you want the audience that come to the event to take away?
I love that. I think once again, it's just that like we got something to say here. Here in Iowa and the Midwest as a whole, we have something to say. Like, we are no less than artists out of New York City or artists out of Chicago or artists out of anywhere else. We are just as valid, and our stories are just as impactful and important as places that have more of a spotlight. And I want people to walk away feeling proud that they're part of this community, because this community is at a place in time that it's only going to be at for right now. Like, we're continuing to grow and to change. There's big artists. There's artists who are getting bigger now out of Des Moines than, we've really seen in the past. There's artists like Jill Wells and Jordan Weber and B More and B Well who are like taking things into kind of new heights, I think, for as far as when it comes to Iowa artists. And so like now is the time to continue to invest and build what we have here. You know what I'm saying? Now is not the time to try to emulate something else somewhere else. We have something weird and something special right here. And now is the time to continue to pour in and see where we can go with this, see how many lives we can impact and how we can tell our stories in bigger ways.
I like that. Now, based on your journey up to this point, what are some words of wisdom you would like to give to artists in general, or just people in general? You can.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna say, as an artist, like, go ahead. However you feel, you have to just feel that. There's gonna be times where you're sad, where you're down, where you're depressed, there's gonna be times when you're elated and you're celebrating and you're proud of who you are. And you have to go through all those. There's no steps that you can skip. There's no point where you're all of a sudden like, you paint a picture and now you're Pablo Picasso and everyone wants to be with you. No, you only get to that point because you've experienced all those other levels of yourself and you can speak to who you are as a person. It's about the ups and the downs. And you hear that all the time, but it's something that's very real. And so you really have to be committed to yourself no matter what. You can't use art as a substitute for loving yourself. You have to love yourself enough to let yourself experience what you're going through. And if you can find ways to turn that into something beautiful and create something new out of that, that's incredible. But the root of that is just loving yourself enough to sit with you no matter what you're going through and to accept who you are as a person. And so like, that's what I've learned through my journey. That's what I'm continuing to learn every day, is that I have to make more space for myself to show up, because there's a lot of me I don't know yet, and I'm excited to figure it out. And if you're an artist or if you're just a person in general, like, I hope that that's a journey that you're on as well, for sure.
Yeah, thank you for that. Dropping knowledge. Okay,
that's just how I feel. It's just how I feel.
Right. No, that's good. That's good. We may have to make that a reel right here. Now, the last question is the math equation. It's kind of the last question I ask on every episode. So, based off my company, what is something that you can add?
Yeah.
We can subtract and multiply, and that would equal to what? And that could be anything.
For sure. So I love one of the ones you use for add, which is empathy. I think we need to add empathy across the board. I think that we've gotten more siloed with technology, and just, we live in the U.S., which is the most isolationist, individualist society on the planet. But we need to continue to connect with each other and feel what we're going through in very real ways. That's going to change our lives. Subtract. Some of y'all are not going to like to hear this, but we need to subtract a lot of the billionaires out here. Society doesn't need billionaires. Billionaires are taken from our society. And I think that if less of us had that goal of one day I'm going to make it, and more of us had the goal of I'm going to look at where I am right now and I'm going to make something of it for my community, we'd have much better worlds in general.
That's good. Yeah.
And you said multiply?
Yeah, multiply.
Multiply. We need to multiply the number of women who are in positions of power, making decisions, and being paid adequately for it. I think that one of the biggest, obviously across the board, one of the biggest inequities that persists throughout history is gender inequality. Men want to always act like we can hold this, like there's something special about us. But there's nothing special about us over and against women. We're all just people. And I think that if we could untrain ourselves from that idiocracy, that stupidity, we would free up a lot of people, a lot of the women who go through things that they don't have to go through at the hands of men, and our society would just be better in every single way imaginable.
And then that would equal to what?
That's going to equal like being able to just like not, it's going to equal freedom. That's what it's going to equal. Freedom. Okay. Freedom is what that is. Freedom from fear of other people, freedom of fear of ourselves, freedom of fear of not being able to pay our bills. It's going to give us the freedom to actually just live life.
Live life. Yeah.
Kind of unplug from all this other stuff.
Right. Unnecessary stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's simple out here.
Okay. So you want to briefly give info on the event?
Yeah, definitely. So Middle of Now Here Festival coming July 12th.
July 12th.
10 a.m. to 10 p.m. at the Cellar Winery just outside of Madrid in Iowa. It is a free event. Come out. We've got food out there. We're going to have some chickens.
Okay.
So if you someone likes chickens but never had a chance to come up close to one, we got chickens on the field. It's gonna be a bunch of art for you to purchase, and really some of the dopest, coolest people in Central Iowa and beyond are going to be out there. So I want you to be there. Siricasso actually just dropped his own wine.
Yes, I
with
saw that.
With the Cellar Winery. So
okay.
that we're
you didn't bring a bottle, man?
I didn't have it with me.
Well,
I left it at the crib. I don't want it to get stolen. It's a very popular brand right now.
Right.
But we're going to be selling that out there.
Okay.
And just like live music, 80 plus art vendors. It's going to be a time. So
and do the math 24/7. We gonna be out there.
Do the
too.
math. Yeah. So that's enough of a reason right there.
There you go.
We got
we're gonna be part of the art section. We're gonna have a table.
Awesome.
Table or two, and have a tent, and I'm excited, man, just to interact with the community and the artists, and just to be in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to be in the atmosphere and just appreciate it all.
100%. Take inspiration from it.
Yeah.
That's
I'm gonna definitely take some pictures.
Yeah, I'm gonna be taking pictures. I'm gonna be taking notes. And I'm gonna be taking that back to my own practice for sure.
Right,
for sure.
Definitely. So thank you guys again, and thank you, Kaleb, for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. And just kind of what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You definitely have a great story.
Yeah.
We can definitely collaborate on something if you ever want to connect with like youth or anything like that. We'll talk. But I'm always willing, just trying to connect in some kind of way, because bottom line, we got to motivate these kids.
Have to, man. Have to.
We have to.
That's the future.
Especially you with the arts and whatnot. Kids need to know.
Yeah.
They know about art, but you could just be that another person that's in their ear.
Yeah.
We need to make sure we're continuing being in the ear with these kids as far as, look, you guys are talented.
Big time.
Right?
Big time.
Let's tune in on that. Let's focus in on that.
Yeah.
Because the ability is already in us.
100%.
They don't have to wait till they're in their 20s or 30s. No, start that now.
Yes.
Get that going now. Build that confidence and that creative side.
Exactly.
Because some of these kids, man, online, they're making millions of dollars doing all kind of creative stuff. So who's to say that it's not in Des Moines?
Exactly.
It's not in Waukee. It's not in Ames. It's here.
It's here.
Come on.
The kids are already doing it. We can point fingers at them right now.
Right.
So that's why I really appreciate what you do and just shining that light on them and giving them someone that they can look up to and who they know is in their corner regardless. So I really respect, your platform, Do the Math, and everything that you're building here. And very thankful for having me come out and just share my story a little bit, man.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any socials you want to give at all? Or?
Yeah, for sure. So Instagram is the biggest one. You can follow me at Kubucha. It's KUB_BUCHA. A lot of friends, people call me Cub as well. So sometimes you might hear that instead of Kaleb. It's the same on TikTok, Kubucha. That's really the biggest two to find me at. So,
okay.
I like to have fun on the TikTok specifically, but Instagram, we like to keep it looking cool and polished. You can't get too crazy on IG, but yeah, that's where they can follow me.
Right. Okay. And then you can follow me on at Instagram, Do the Math 247, Facebook at Do the Math 247. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Kenny Lilly, Lilly, and thank you guys again for tuning in for Do the Math 24/7's Math Talk. Thank you again for joining the show. Great conversation.
Incredible.
Love talking about the arts. And again, thank you for tuning in. And remember, do the math 24/7.